I was once sitting on a park bench not long ago when beside me sat down a wild looking young man in a leather jacket with a nose ring and a mohawk haircut of many different colors. When I gave him a look, he says, "What's the matter, old man? Never had any fun in your life?" "Yes," I answered. "I once made love to a peacock and I think you are my son." I always open with a joke. Hello, hello. My name is Simon Wiesenthal. Welcome to the Vienna Jewish Documentation Center. People call me the Jewish James Bond, but Martinis give me a headache. And instead of an Aston Martin, I drive an old Peugeot. And rather than guns, lasers, and rockets, my weapons are publicity and the most dreaded thing known to mankind: paperwork. One thing 007 and I do have in common, however: overwhelming sex appeal. I have been tracking down Nazi war criminals for now, 2003? For 58 years now, and in my time I have brought 1,100 to justice. Now, I'm not a government agency, a detective, or a lawyer. I'm a private citizen. I could have worked in one of the larger organizations, but I am an independent kind of guy. I love people, but I don't trust them. I have written many books, traveled around the world giving lectures, and I've shared my passion for justice with many students right here in my office. But today, you are a very special group because you are some people who, excuse me, excuse me. Hello? Yeah, Sula. I promise I will not be late. Yeah, all right. I will bring home the milk. Yeah, all right. No, I will not forget. I will write it down. Yeah, goodbye. I'll see you at home. Goodbye, Sula. Yeah. I don't know why she keeps calling. Where was I? Yeah, today. Today you are a very special group because I have to bring home milk. No, you're not a very special group because I have to bring home milk. I bring home milk all the time. 1 minute. Bring home milk. Today you are a very special group because you are my last group. Yeah. Today I come to office one final time. At 5 p.m. I am retiring, walking out of that door. My wife Sula will be waiting for me at home. My daughter and her children are visiting us from Israel. They are making a party for me. My home will be filled with the aroma of good food and echoes of children's laughter. Decorations will be hung up only as far as little hands can reach. My wife will have one glass of wine and kiss everyone too much. A beautiful picture, yes? And yet, when I think of going home, I feel ashamed. When you wrote to me about your trip to Austria and whether you can visit my office and ask me a few questions, I say no. I have answered all questions. Today I am retiring. I have promised my wife no more visitors. But this morning I wake up with a problem. This morning I am thinking, well, Simon, perhaps you have answered enough questions, but isn't there one final question that you have forgotten to ask? And so I make a call and change my no to yes, and here you are. Please don't tell my wife. And so, what is this one final question that Simon Wiesenthal has forgotten to ask? I don't remember. I was only making a joke, of course I do remember. I remember the question, what is your hurry? You young people are always in such a rush. I blame the microwave. Let us visit a little, get to know each other. Perhaps I'll tell you a bit about myself. Today, you will hear Simon Wiesenthal's greatest hits. I was born in Bucharest in the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. I have a wife, a daughter, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who mean the world to me but are of no interest to you. Of interest alone to you is my life in reaction to Nazism. I survived the Holocaust, and I try and preserve the memory of those who did not. This is how it'll go. I will share a few things that have happened in my lifetime, but there will be trouble then. You will not be able to comprehend these things. These things will be beyond your power of imagination. And so I will try harder and wave my arms a lot, because that's what people do when words are not enough. The stories of my clients are very simple ones. There will be the story of the bookkeeper, the story of the chicken farmer, the auto mechanic, the policeman. My goal is not to produce tears. If that's what you want, you go home and watch soap operas. What I wish to produce is knowledge. Knowledge of the horror and awareness of the danger. So, I forgot to show you the restroom key. 1 minute. Yeah. I also have some cookies for you in the back. Raspberry shortbread, a going away present given by my landlord. I always liked him. The restroom key. Will you excuse me? I have to make a phone call. Hello. My name is Simon Wiesenthal. I'm returning the phone message of a voice message of a reporter from your organization by name Greenberg, Miss Natalie Greenberg. This is regarding a Nazi war fugitive Alois Brunner. No, I do not phone the obituary department. Alois Brunner is still alive. He is the highest ranking Nazi war fugitive still living. Miss Greenberg asked me to call at this time. She's not in. Could you please tell Simon Wiesenthal that returned the call? My number is 413-408-4286. Wait, to who am I speaking, may I know? Stanley at the front desk. 1 minute, Stanley, I'll have to get a pen. Too confusing, Wait, Stanley. To who am I speaking? Stanley at the front desk. Thank you very much, Stanley at the front desk. Forgive me. Where do I start? Shame. I will begin with shame. Shame is the most dangerous force in all human life. It is poison. Whenever people feel unworthy, empty, ashamed, they fill themselves with anything. Today, that's what makes a young girl strap a bomb to herself. After the defeat in the World War I, the German people, they were unworthy, they felt ashamed, they felt empty. Put yourself in their place. Your child cries from hunger. You have nothing to give her. What will you do? Anything you can, yeah? I once saw a homeless man wearing a sign. I will do any job. Aha, I think. So that's where it begins. That was his opening line. Perhaps you know of who I talk about? Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist German Workers' Party of the Nazis. Hitler took the shame from the German people and dropped it right on the lap of the most popular scapegoat in history, the Jews. Whenever the majority is whipped up against the minority, it is the Jews who are eventually crucified. Good news, ladies and gentlemen. Forget your shame. You are blameless. The enemies are those treacherous Jews. If we rid the world of Jews, we rid the world of shame. Now, which intelligent person will buy this load of manure? Remember your hungry child? Hitler puts bread in her mouth. Hitler gives you a job building a superhighway. Now you're filled with pride. What is always left out in all history lessons is how charismatic Hitler was. Yeah? He was an amazing public speaker. He was mesmerizing. He was fascinating. You could see the fire when looking into his eyes. People cheered for him on the streets, holding up their children, no longer crying from shame. Now they cry from happiness. But this is heresy. How can Simon Wiesenthal talk of Adolf Hitler this way? If you do not honestly try and understand how it happened then, it will happen now. But there is more heresy. For me, the Holocaust was not just a Jewish tragedy, it was a human tragedy. After the war, I urged the Jews to not only talk of the 6 million Jews who died, but also of the 5 million others. And that made me unpopular. But for me, whether it's the Christians being thrown to the lions, or this ethnic cleansing in Yugoslavia, or this new problem unfolding in Darfur, one must speak of all genocide to prevent all genocide. Around the time of the World War I, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, systematically killed 1.5 million Armenians. And the world let them get away with it. Hitler once said, I have no worries killing the Jews. After all, today, who talks of the annihilation of the Armenians? So, why did Hitler hate the Jews? Can I sit down and talk? I'm feeling a little tired. Why did Hitler hate the Jews? Well, there was this one theory that he may have gotten syphilis from a Jewish prostitute, but no one knows for sure. And maybe it's not even important. What is important, however, is that he did hate the Jews, and he was able to make the German people hate the Jews. It gave them all a scapegoat for their troubles. Now, before Hitler figured out the most efficient way of killing hundreds and thousands of people at once, the Jews were herded into a corner of the city known as the ghetto. Cobblestones were removed from the streets and we walked in the mud. A fence was built around us like a zoo. People laughed at these filthy subhumans. Well, one of those filthy subhumans was named Rosa, my Mutter. Of everything else, what stays in my memory is the time when I was 33 years old and we was in a camp in Lvov in Poland. Well, this one night, my mother, she prepared a little something for my young wife to eat. She never ate with us. Well, this one night, my mother, she fell. I catch her with my arms. 3 days she had nothing to eat, everything for us. You know, this is so dramatic that of everything else, this stays in my memory. This moment, only this moment, a real Jewish motto. Well, in the camps, the Jews were either starved or worked to death, and those who survived were sent off to the camps, the extermination camps. There was to be a roundup that day, but we still had a gold forge. So I told my mother how to fix the problem. Later, I was allowed an important call at work. What have I done to deserve such a smart son? She said. They took away Papa's gold forge, Simon, and left me alone. Just like you said, tonight we must celebrate. When you come home, will you bring a potato? I am going to make a soup. August 11th, 1942. I am running to the railroad yard to say goodbye. These hundreds and hundreds of people packed in cattle cars, pleading for water, water. I call out to her, but nothing. Just nothing. There is not a possibility to help. The next morning, the train is still there. It stays in the sun for 2 full days. Look, if my mother was alive now, she will be 128 years old. And you would think after all this time, the nightmares would disappear. I was an architect by profession, so was of value to them, but my young wife is what they called superfluous. But with her blonde hair and blue eyes, she would pass off as a Gentile. My dear, I fixed the problem. I found a safe place for you. I found a seat in the next passenger train leaving the ghetto. No one will find out that you are a Jew. Yeah? Listen carefully. When you reach the end of the line, look out in the southwest corner for the contact woman. She will give you a new name and you will be safe. Please don't cry. Please don't cry. Please don't cry. My dear, I've given you happy news. I fixed the problem. Look at me. Look into my eyes. Nothing has changed. Yeah? Nothing has changed. It is exactly like how we promised on our wedding day. Where you go, I go, and where you stay, I stay. Now you go, you will be safe in Warsaw. Perhaps you have heard of the Warsaw Uprising. Jewish ghetto fighters took on the Germans for nearly a month before the Nazi artillery leveled most of the city. With Somewhere beneath the rubble lay the dead body of my young wife. I tried to escape, but I was caught and made a slave laborer in the Platzau concentration camp, and then onwards towards Auschwitz, Gross-Rosen, and Buchenwald. I was a prisoner in over a dozen camps. In one of the camps, for looking into the camp guard in his eye, he had my toe cut off. There was an infection. In the spring of 1945, with the gangrene in my leg, they marched us through the snow to Upper Austria to Mauthausen. Of the original 6,000, only 1,000 was left. We were starving with only grass to eat. I began losing my mind, dying. I rest my head on my dead leg. Slowly my heart begins to surrender. In my mind, I can see the white stars of heaven disappear one by one. The star of love, the star of hope, the stars of justice and tolerance, fading away with the dying rhythm of my heart. And then the ground beneath me shakes, my heart quickens, my eyes open. I slowly climb over the corpses to the doorway blinded by stars. The stars have returned? White stars? Am I dreaming? Is this true? If you can touch it, then it is true. Touch the star, Simon. Make it true. Gone is the sweet smell of burnt flesh hanging in a greasy cloud over the yard. Touch the star, Simon. Make it true. Get off the ground, Simon. Stand up, Simon. It's okay, mister. You're safe now. I can hear prisoners laughing and crying in soldiers' arms. I can feel the rough soldier's uniform on my skin. No words. I point. You want to touch the flag, mister? Slowly I am helped to an American tank. With trembling hands I reach out and make it true. I have survived. I'm now in this place called the American War Crimes Office. But just days before, the German commandant had resigned. I apply red ink on my cheeks to appear healthier so I do not have to go to the hospital. I'm now at this War Crimes Office. This is the tip of justice. These SS men, they're so big, so powerful, so deadly. Looking into the eyes, I can see the crossbones and the skulls. A mere glance at them makes me nauseous. It's humiliating. And for me, the humiliation, that's the worst. These American soldiers, they take away the dead bodies. Yeah? They give us meat and vegetables and pills. But these SS men, they are so deadly and powerful. But in front of these American soldiers, these perfect specimen of the master race, they tremble. I sit quietly for hours as these revolting cowards are interrogated. It's a slow process, but I am in no hurry. Many of the worst criminals slip through the net. But at least these Americans are bringing some justice back to the world. I hear one American soldier whispers to the other, "What's with this clown? He gives me the creeps." When I think of myself, a living skeleton dressed in stripes with painted red cheeks, propped up in a corner like a dazed little jester. The doctors did not give me a chance to live. Many of them died after liberation, too far gone to be saved. Why then? Why did I have to be at this American War Crimes Office? Well, I suppose I had to be Exhibit A, a living witness to the tortures and the killings. But more than anything else, as these SS supermen were being interrogated and were trembling on the face of justice, I wanted them to know that I am watching. Many of these young American soldiers who died and fought for Europe, they were like family to us. Those who broke open the camps discovered the gas chambers, the crematoriums, and the piles of dead bodies. Many of them went back home to their families to be replaced by others who were more interested in the Fräuleins than in justice. One American captain offered me up some sage advice. Listen, Simon, you're a smart guy. You must understand people have different viewpoints. You must not mind them. Back home, we have the Republicans and the Democrats. Here, you have the Nazis and the Jews. In the long run, I realized that we must bring these criminals to justice. In the early post-war months, I watched for all the families to return, these millions of missing people. A great migration walking hand in hand from their hiding places in the forest and the countryside. No one comes. Doctors, teachers, farmers from all over Europe, gypsies, Slavs, Soviets, Poles, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, 11 million people who do not come home, who do not fit the Nazi mold of racial purity. 6 million of them, including my own relatives, murdered for the sole crime of being born Jewish. Excuse me, I have to make a phone call. Hello. Is this Stanley at the front desk? Yeah, Simon Wiesenthal here. Did you manage to pass on my message to Miss Greenberg? Yeah, regarding Nazi war fugitive Alois Brunner? Yeah, I will hold. And prisoners were waiting in line to be gassed. Brunner made them all, forced them all to write postcards home. We are being treated very well in the Buchenwald camp, that sort of thing. When a group of a few hundred Jews missed the train to Auschwitz, Brunner hurried them into a small ship and later sank them to sea. After the war, he's joined the Syrian government as a torture specialist. He goes by the name Georg Fischer. Syria would gladly extradite him if only we could confirm his address. From time to time, he gives out telephonic interviews boasting how he rids the world of so much Jewish garbage. I have been tracking. Hello? Yeah, Stanley, I'm still here. Yeah, I do have a pen. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, okay. I should contact Simon Wiesenthal. I am Simon Wiesenthal, Stanley. May I please speak to Miss Greenberg? Thank you. Yeah, I will hold. Yeah. What a fool. This morning I'm thinking. I do a lot of thinking this morning. But do not worry, I have not forgotten that one final question that Simon Wiesenthal has forgotten to ask. But this morning I'm also thinking. Maybe on this my final day, if I can get Alois Brunner to hear the same knock on his door that my mother heard, if I can do this one final thing, then maybe I can go home not feeling so ashamed. But time is running out. They are shifting my office to the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. I have been working. Yeah, Miss Greenberg. Yeah. Simon Wiesenthal. Yeah. Alois Brunner. Yes. Yeah, I have a pen. Yeah. Yes. One eye. Yeah, fingers of his left hand. No, he's Austrian. Did he manage to get the photograph? Yeah, of course not. You have a phone number? Yeah, tell me. Yes, 67. Thank you very much, Miss Greenberg. Yeah, I will call you back. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Last week, at the Meridian Hotel in Damascus, Syria, a journalist was exercising in a treadmill right next to an elderly Austrian gentleman with an eye patch and only the thumb of his left hand. This man is Georg Fischer, alias Alois Brunner. If only I can confirm his address with this current political climate, war on terror, Syria may ever matter, so you have no idea what she looks like. Why did you bring this woman here? Well, you see, Simon, My wife also died in the war, and this is a very beautiful woman. If I can just clear this one thing with you, then I will marry her myself. She is in the next room, if you do not mind. Yeah. Now, Felix, you must find yourself a new bride. This one is mine. It was my wife. She hadn't died after all. We hugged each other for a long time, shared our stories, counted the number of relatives that we had lost, 89, and agreed that it was a miracle that we had survived. 9 months later, another miracle. Our daughter Paulinka Rose was born. Excuse me. And now, Paulinka has children, and her children have children. My daughter, the grossmutter, the grandmother. Talk about growing old. I have a picture of them on the beach in Israel. If you had told me that I would be alive to see this day, I would have called you all verrückt. My daughter Pauline, too many calls last day. Coming. Yeah. Hello? Yasula. No, I'm alone here. No, there is no group here. I promise you I will not have any more visitors. No, there is no one here. My landlord, the rat, he has squealed on me. I always hated him. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I promise you this will be one last group. Yeah, I will not be late for the party. Yeah, I've been a good host, yeah. Yeah, I laid out the cookies for them that the landlord gave me as a going away present. Yeah, I always liked him, yeah. Yeah, I showed them the restroom key. Did I not show you the restroom key? Yeah, I showed them the restroom. Of course, well, I did. She refuses to believe me. Okay, everybody, I want you to do me a favor. It's my wife, I'm going to ask you a question. Did I show you the restroom key? Yes. Shala, you're going to hear this now, all right? Did I show you the restroom key? Yes. You had them? Yeah, we're all fine. Yeah, thank you, Shala. Yeah, goodbye. She's too much. Always getting called in. My wife, she worries a lot. Women are different. Well, we have been married for 66 years now. Maybe she will change. A man once had a suit made and he took it home to show his wife. His wife says, "This is a terrible suit. One arm is too long and one leg is too short. You better go and demand your money back." And so the man goes back to the tailor and says, "This is a terrible suit. One arm is too long and one leg is too short. I demand my money back." The tailor says, "This is a very good suit, sir. You have a bad posture. If you can hold yourself up like one of those magazine models, relax and turn to your right, the arm and the leg will fit you perfectly." So the man thanks the tailor and walks out of the shop. He crosses two old women. One of them looks at him and says, "Oh, look at that poor crippled man." And the other says, "But see how well the suit fits him." When I am faced with confrontation in my life, and I face a lot of them, I use humor as a bridge. People who laugh together sometimes forget to kill each other. At 8:05 p.m., May 11th, 1960, a balding, middle-aged man gets off a bus in Buenos Aires. Ricardo Clement has had a very long day at the Mercedes-Benz factory. He was looking forward to going home and spending time with his wife and having dinner with his child. As he crosses the street, two other men jump out of the car. One man asks him for a cigarette. As Ricardo reaches into his pocket, they take the man into the car. His wife never hears the screams as they sped away. Now, who would do something like that? And why? Why would you kidnap an average man like Ricardo Clement? He was not rich. He paid his bills. He was a good neighbor. He loved his family. Ricardo Clement was an unremarkable man apart from the fact that his real name was Adolf Eichmann. In 1942, the Nazi bigwigs had decided that the final solution to the Jewish problem is mass murder. Eichmann was put in charge. It was Eichmann who, from behind his desk, meticulously worked out the practicalities of killing millions of people. 11 million of them. I was obsessed with the capture of Eichmann day in and day out for 16 years, that in Austria they call me that nutcase Eichmann Wiesenthal. My daughter grew up with a father whose own obsession for Eichmann seemed more important to them than she was. Many years later, sitting outside the Jerusalem court, I am finally going to see the monster, a creature whose own obsession resulted in a death toll numbering well over the entire population of Austria. As the door opens, from the very pit of hell emerges a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper? Where is my monster? Where is the devil with the snarling dogs and the black boots? I do not want the bookkeeper, I want my monster. After the incomprehensible bill of indictment is read, murder of 11 million men, women and children, Eichmann simply says, Ich bin nicht schuldig. I am not guilty. To say that this is unsatisfying would be the greatest understatement in human history. This is all so wrong, this normalcy, this calmness. Outside a break in the Israeli court, the sun shines, children laugh, a train leaves on time, a woman buys shoes. Why buy shoes? Why buy when there are millions and millions of others to choose from? 100 truckloads of shoes, 319,000 gold watches, 420 pounds of wedding jewelry, all this collected just from 3 camps at Treblinka, Sobibor and Belzec in 1 year. These numbers, I just can't get them out of my head. How can I? How can anyone? How dare the sun shines? Don't you care? Don't you know who is in this building? How dare you think of other things? The world simply just cannot go on. But the world does go on. Many in the city have lost a loved one because of that little bookkeeper. But the world goes on. I did not capture Eichmann. A team of Israeli Mossad agents did. In order to avoid an international incident with Argentina, the world was not allowed to know the truth. The search for Eichmann involved a jigsaw puzzle with the cooperation of hundreds of people from across the world who did not even know each other. I am proud to have added a few pieces. Eichmann's trial in front of an Israeli court in 1961 went on for 14 weeks. He was indicted on 15 criminal charges, including crimes against humanity itself. But Eichmann simply said he just followed the German laws of Adolf Hitler. I believed him when he said he wasn't anti-Jewish. Let me ask you all something. How many of you here wear glasses? Yeah. 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 How many of you drive a car? I would have simply gassed people wearing glasses or driving cars if he was ordered to. What's more, if Hitler commanded that he built a Jewish state in Palestine, he would have done so. The mountain of dead human beings behind him was not because of any hatred or criminal character like the 9/11 terrorists. He was not a sadist. He was not a sociopath. One doesn't need a criminal mind to commit mass murder. Simply blind obedience to authority would do. Eichmann was convicted on all charges. His hanging on June 1st, 1962, remains the only civil execution in Israel. So, what is the value of the Eichmann trial? Revenge? One life for 11 million? Revenge can never be a goal. It was for me in the beginning, but later I realized it was justice, not vengeance that I wanted. Because look, one cannot hate all day. Just like one cannot eat all day, it makes you full. The value of the trial of Adolf Eichmann is this. If an average man is capable of such terrible things, then so am I. Humanity was forced to look at itself in the mirror. Excuse me. Hello? Yeah, is this the Meridian Hotel in Damascus? To who am I speaking? May I know? Zada Ismahan. Yeah. Zada, my name is Dr. Richard Kimball calling from the AustriaDrugs.com. Yeah, I have an urgent shipment for a heart medication for one Mr. Georg Fischer who's staying in your hotel. Yeah, if you could just confirm your mailing address. Oh, you're not allowed to give out that information. Zada, this prescription bottle has a red sticker. Red sticker means overnight shipment, if you know what I mean. Oh, you still cannot give me that information. Well, all right, I'll make a note. Zada Ismahan says no to the red sticker. I'm sure his family will understand. And if not, I'm sure you'll explain it to them at his funeral. Oh, come now, Zada. I'm sure you will change your mind. And if you do, here is my phone number, 413-408-4286. The FedEx man will be here any minute. And if not exactly kosher, but I can live with it. Where was I? Eichmann, yeah. Eichmann. I published a book. I hunted Eichmann. And I became famous overnight. Letters started coming to me from across the world. And those who did not have my address simply put on the envelope, Nazi hunter Simon Wiesenthal, and they still arrived. Evidences against camp guards, donation for the documentation center, and hate mail, lots of them. They usually begin with, "Dear Jewish dog." I still get them. We have a special place for them in the office. The Meshuggah file, the crazy file. My friends tell me, "Be careful, Simon." That's like asking me to be careful after I've boarded an airplane. Once I put on a seatbelt, what more can I do? Most of these letters were harmless, but some of them. I remember early 60s, one night I was away from my home and Sula received a threatening call. "Ask your husband to stop or he will kill your daughter." Sula had a heart attack. By the time I come, the police have arrived. Paulinka is frightened. Sula is lying in bed facing away from me. "Jews have a home, it's called Israel. Will you take us there, Simon?" Adolf Hitler shot himself in the head 20 years ago. Man circles the earth on spaceships now and you still cannot leave 1945? I do not want to hear a sad story, Simon. I want to hear a happy story. I don't care for your sad stories. I want to hear a happy story. And that Mr. and Mrs. Wiesenthal took their daughter, moved to Israel, and lived happily ever after. That's the story I want to hear. Will you tell us that story, Simon? No. Listen, Jola. When we all meet in the afterworld, the prisoners who died in the camps will also be there. And they will ask this question: what did you do with this gift of life? One will say he became a jeweler, another a banker, another a lawyer. When that question comes to me, I will say, I have not forgotten you. The two of you go to Israel. I cannot stop. The next morning on my way to office, I kissed Sula goodbye, and she whispers, where you go, I go. And where you stay, I stay, right here by your side. Thank God Paulinka wasn't harmed on the outside. But I wondered the toll it took, all the police escorts, the reporters, the separatedness had on her. When we went to register her for elementary school, the teacher said, I can't believe it. I didn't know that there were any more Jews left in the world. 1953, a few days before Christmas, Paulinka was 8 years old. She came home crying. She was the only Jew in her school. Papa, all my classmates visit their grandparents, their uncles, their aunts, and their cousins. Why do I have no one to visit? How can you tell an 8-year-old that all her relatives were killed by the fathers of her classmates? Very slowly, many years later, we told her what happened, and I gave her the book, Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Such a gift. After reading the book, Paulinka says, Papa, when I pray at night, is anyone listening? My initial plan was to stay in Austria only for a few months, and then Sula and I would move to Israel. And now, 58 years later, why do I still live in Austria? I will tell you. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Julie Andrews sings in the film. But the hills were also alive with perhaps other things, like a chicken farmer by the name Franz Mura, the butcher of Vilna. Vilna was known as the Jerusalem of Lithuania. 80,000 Jews lived here before the war. Exactly 250 of them were left after the Nazis got through with them. It was Müller, Franz Müller, who was responsible for the murder of 79,750 of them. In 1963, finally, I got to say this to a courtroom. I had him indicted on 17 charges of murder, but the trial wasn't going well. Müller claimed that it was a case of mistaken identity. The defense attorney was very good in confusing one witness over the other, causing them to mix up the details. And in court, of course, details are the most important. Let me understand this. On the one hand, you say that you cannot forget the day Franz Müller threw little children against the wall. On the other hand, you say that you cannot remember whether that date was May the 4th or May the 14th. There was one witness, however, who I thought I could count on. I had met and interviewed Jacob Brody several years ago. What struck me about him was how detached he had become from his emotions. On that day, two groups of people were waiting outside the camp gate. My group was to go to work. My 7-year-old son Daniel's group was to be executed. When Mura wasn't watching, I waved Daniel to join my group. But Mura was watching. He took out a gun and shot my son in the head here. this was a common scenario, but what was particularly valuable was the detailed and unemotional way Jacob Brody was able to tell it. Brody, who had refused restitution money offered by West Germany in the 50s, was living in Los Angeles. When I first asked him to testify, he refused. Old emotions. He wanted to keep Pandora's box closed. One morning, as I was getting ready to go to court, Jacob Brody appeared before me. He had read about how badly the trial was going. I heard that Muller's 2 children are laughing and jeering at the witnesses. When I take the stand, this will stop. Franz Muller killed my son in front of my eyes. I will kill him in front of his children's eyes. He revealed a dagger he was hiding under the belt. Pandora's box was fully wide open. Listen, Mr. Brody, this is exactly what they want. Listen to me. No, listen to me. On the day Mauthausen was liberated, a young Jewish boy whose sister was brutally murdered found the SS man responsible for it. After being almost beaten to death, this SS man, lying in the mud, brandishing a smile where his teeth once stood, called over an American reporter. See, given a chance, they are no different. Nazis and Jews are just the same. Jacob Brody took the witness stand completely unarmed. He was the perfect witness. A few hours later, the jury returned with the verdict. In the case of Franz Muller, on all 17 counts, the jury finds the defendant not guilty. Not guilty. Cheers and applause. They're cheering for him on the streets. Flowers were thrown in the air. Franz Muller was a national hero. Jacob Brody left for the airport. Why have I stayed in Austria? Even though Austrians made up only 8% of the Third Reich, half of Hitler's 6 million Jews were murdered by Austrians. They do not mention this in the travel brochures, do they? I've always felt that I can be of much more use to Israel from the outside. If you have to find a cure for malaria, you must live with the mosquitoes. No, please don't misunderstand me. I do not believe that I do not believe that the Germans and the Austrians are chosen people of evil, not at all. Listen, all my life I've rejected the concept of collective guilt. Here more heresy. Some more heresy coming your way. Not all SS men. I believe an individual has to own up to his actions. Not all SS men. Let me explain something to you. There is a huge difference between the rank and file German soldier who fought in the war against other soldiers than the men in the SS. These heroes, they fought against unarmed men, women, and children. Not all SS men were guilty. Some of them, not many, but some managed to get through the war without harming anyone. There was this man named Beck. He was on trial. Later I found out from my witnesses in Dachau that this was a decent man and he harmed no one. He was later discharged. There was another Nazi man who saved my life in one of the camps. Many years later I invited him to my daughter's wedding. But why, Simon? Why? Tell me, what did all my clients claim at their trials? What did these cowards want humanity to accept as an excuse? That they were only following orders, that they had no choice, right? Wrong. These two men not only did not follow the orders, they made the choice and said no. One must talk about such rare examples of courage in stark contrast to the multitudes of cowards in the SS. Not all victims were innocent. Some of the Jews, in order to save their lives, did not hesitate to kill. But for me, a murderer is a murderer. Be it a Jew, a German, a Nazi, an Eskimo. The sunflower. The sunflower holds a special significance for me. On our way back, marching back from work to Mauthausen, one day we passed through a German cemetery. Every grave had a sunflower, hundreds of them. How lucky for all of them to be remembered. We who will be thrown into a pit and forgotten about. But these people, they have their own sunflower, a sort of periscope through which the dead could receive love and light. A looking glass, allowing these individuals to know that they have not been forgotten. The sunflower is my Yahrzeit, my remembrance for the 6 million. A few days after the war, some of us volunteered to retrieve prayer books from a castle in Upper Austria, hundreds of Talmuds and Bibles, which were to be displayed in Nazi war museums as relics of an extinct race. While packing some of these books from an orphanage in Etzieu, France, a letter dropped out from one of these books. It was written by an 11-year-old. Cher étranger, les Allemands viennent me chercher. Je suis le dernier. Mais n'aie pas pitié de moi, que tu as lu cette lettre, je ne suis plus mort. Je vis dans ton cœur. Promets-moi de ne jamais m'oublier. J'ai confiance en toi. Signé Albert. I trust you. Signed, Albert. And so, I promised Albert that I will remember him. I remember Albert by making sure that his murderers don't get away with it. I remember Albert by making sure that the murderers of tomorrow understand that they will not get away with it. That is how I remember Albert. And today, yes, as I'm retiring, giving up and going home, it's Albert's words that come to me. I trust you. Powerful words. I don't think I've said these words to anyone in my life. My job is not so glamorous. My job is, let me explain to you. I need to find a war record of a certain German captain. I call an office. I'm put on hold. I call a supervisor who says I need a permit. I get a permit, but it's the wrong permit. I get the right permit, call the supervisor back, who by now has been promoted. Talk to my assistant. I do. And the assistant says, oh, you don't need a permit for this in the first place. Here is the information regarding the German captain who, by the way, died last Thursday. This is my job. They're making my office into a museum. But I've told them to leave everything exactly as it is. The important things in my life, the important work in my life has been done on these messy desks. My office is my brain. How can I say goodbye to my brain? Oh, it might not look like much, but it has worked very well for me. I know where everything is. I remember everything, including the one final question that Simon Wiesenthal has forgotten to ask. Perhaps you think I forgot. I never forget. It's all deliberate. That is not to say that I do not get lucky at times. One morning outside my office was a filthy-looking man reeking of schnapps. Every once in a while you meet people who look exactly like what they are, evil. Let's call this evil man Mr. Schnapps. He had read about my search for Franz Stangl, the commandant of the Treblinka concentration camp. I did nothing wrong. I was forced to join. It's only little guys who get pushed around. Because of people like Stangl, little guys like me get into trouble. After the boss finds out I'm from the Gestapo, he has me fired. It's enough for making one go back and kill. But I didn't. I won't. I love Jews. I once had a Jewish girlfriend. But you know how it is. It's the fat cats with the money. If you can rid the world of this kind, the fat cats, I mean the Stangls and the Eichmanns. Look, I know where Stangl is. Let me tell you a secret. My favorite thing in the world is not having a Nazi arrested. No. My greatest satisfaction is when one Nazi tells the other, I will tell Simon Wiesenthal about you. I just love that. Mr. Schnaps continued. He offered me a special price, 1 penny a corpse, 1 cent for every person killed by Stangl. 700,000 pennies, 700,000 corpses. I could have snapped his filthy neck like a pencil, but finding Stangl was more important than the schmuck. Look, by your information, if you're able to arrest Stangl, you will get your money, $7,000. Now tell me where he is and get out. Stangl was working as a mechanic in the Volkswagen factory in Sao Paulo. Franz Stangl began his career at the Hartheim Castle, a sanatoria, where in the early days, the Nazis used it to conduct experiments on useless eaters, the old, the terminally ill, the mentally challenged. Later on, it became full-scale slaughter using a pesticide called Cyclone B, where hundreds could be gassed every hour. After 15,000 Nazi concentration camps across Europe, Franz Stangl's Treblinka was considered the best. The arrival platform was painted to look like a beautiful station. There were flowers, a ticket window, first class and second class doors. But behind this beautiful facade was a storehouse for human hair. Men will not burn without women. That was one of the scientific truths of Treblinka. Because of the higher fat ratio, women's bodies were used to kindle the fire. Finding Stangl was just the beginning. It was always only the beginning. What I do is this, I find the criminal, I find the witnesses, I give the information to West Germany and Austria who put them on trial. West Germany was always willing, Austria wasn't. When they dragged their feet on it, I call a press conference and shame them into action. It took me 3 years and lots of diplomacy to get Stangl. One Brazilian politician said, give me $500, I will kill Stangl myself. But it was justice that I wanted, not another body. Finally, in 1967, Stangl received a call from the hospital saying his daughter was injured. When he came to hospital, he was arrested. Mr. Schnaps got his money. The trial opened in Dusseldorf, 1970. I had nothing against the Jews. We were just after their money. Even the poor had a lot of money. All this racial businesses, hate propaganda, the humiliation, the cruelty, all this was used to condition those who actually did the killing. But I had nothing against them. I was under pressure to deliver. Heinrich Himmler said there should not be any evidence. But eventually, fountains of blood started sprouting from the ground. It was a logistical nightmare for me. If I had done nothing in my life than get this wicked man to justice, I would not have lived my life in vain. Stangl was sentenced to prison for life. He died a few months later. What I told you about all these things being beyond your power of imagination, these numbers, hard to imagine, yeah? That has been my challenge of life. How to convey what happens when technology meets barbarism. Adolf Eichmann was exactly right when he said, 100 dead is a catastrophe. 1 million is a statistic. 1.5 million children killed. How do you feel that? 1.5 million. Well, one of those children was Anne Frank, a famous 15-year-old whose diary was found on the floor of the Amsterdam house from where the SS man who had arrested her had thrown it. Anne Frank, the diary of a young girl, became the story of all the missing children of Europe. Why? Because it was the story of one girl. People could feel that, not a nameless body in a grave. Anne Frank became your child and my child. You see the value? Anne Frank never existed. Jews just want more restitution money. During a performance of the play, Diary of a Young Girl, 1957, Vienna, a group of young protesters sitting in the balcony were yelling and throwing posters saying, "This story is a fraud." I don't blame them. I blame their parents. They had brainwashed these children so that they can cover up their own shame. Just like they were brainwashed after World War I, remember? So I spoke to one of the doubting boys of Europe. Yeah, there is no proof. This book is a forgery. These gas chambers, they were just used for disinfecting clothes. And the bodies, they were just Hollywood papier-mâché. My father told me, and he was there, "You're all a bunch of liars." I know what you're thinking. How can a young child believe such a far-fetched story? Think about it. Which story is more far-fetched? Suppose someone were to tell you that your father's main job was to shoot appropriately sized Jewish children to fill potholes in an airstrip runway. Would you believe him? Of course not. It is ridiculous. It happened. No son wants to believe that his father was evil. How deep do the emotions for your father go? I had to reach out to these young boys of Europe. The only way to break this cycle of shame was to immunize them with the truth. Young man, suppose I was to find the actual SS man who arrested the Frank family. Would you believe me then? Yeah, if he admitted it himself, then I would have no option but to believe. It was that easy. All I had to do was extract the confession from a nameless, faceless functionary who arrested 1 out of 1.5 million children 14 years ago. Easy peasy. I had nothing to go on. So what, I went home and went through the copy of my daughter's book. In that it had mentioned in the preface that the man, the SS man who arrested the Frank family, was from Vienna, and his name was Silvernagel. Unfortunately, there is no such name. I thought of contacting Anna's father directly, but Mr. Otto Frank had very publicly forgiven the murderers of his family. I respect Mr. Frank's need to rid himself of all the hate, but I am not in the business of handing out pardons. Forgiveness, that only comes from God. In this world, I believe in justice. In this world, I believe problems should be addressed so they do not occur again. Time passed. There was no progress. On a plane flight once, I managed to glance through a copy of the 1942 Gestapo directory. It had listed the names of all officers, police officers recruited from Vienna, posted in Holland. Unfortunately, there was no one by this name. One must be careful not accusing people without proof. In the 80s, the World Jewish Congress accused the president of Austria, Kurt Waldheim, of being a Nazi war criminal without proof. So, after going through the military records of all Silvernagel posted in Holland, there was none. This is the toughest search I've ever had. What have I gotten myself into? This man was a nobody. He was a nothing. I was looking for big names like Dr. Josef Mengele, the Auschwitz angel of death. But I keep thinking of the doubting boys of Europe and how their minds were brainwashed by their parents. If I find this Silvernagel or whatever his name is, these doubting boys will know the truth of Anna Frank and the lies of their fathers. So I got to work. Silvernagel. He must have been a low-ranking police officer because his only job, main job, was to arrest people. Silvernagel. Silvernagel. Maybe the B is a B. Silvernagel. Well, at least that's a name. It's only a guess, but it's a name. It leads to something, and something leads to something else. No military records has his name. His name was not found anywhere. So what can I do? I managed to get a directory of all police officers recruited from Vienna and posted in Holland. Kempin, Bushman, Zilberbauer. Zilbernagel. Maybe that's his name. Eh? If he was from Vienna, then maybe he's still in Vienna. If he was in the police department, then maybe he still is. If he was alive then, maybe he still is. I know what you're thinking. Too many maybes. American reporter Dan Rather once asked me, do I believe in miracles? I told him, how can one be a Jew and not believe in miracles? Well, what can I tell you? 300 phone calls later, Karl Zilberbauer was arrested. He was working for the Vienna Police Department, not 10 minutes from this building. He confessed immediately. Anna Frank, of course I remember her, the little girl with black eyes. Sorry about it, of course I'm sorry about it. Because of her, I lost my job. The arrest of Zilberbauer made headline news across the world. Finally, the doubting boys of Europe knew the truth of Anna Frank and the lies of their fathers. Maybe it's time to give my good friend Zada Ismahan one final call. Try. And last time to see whether she gets me information. I don't know if she'll call me back. Hello, yeah. This is Zada Ismahan. Yeah, this is Dr. Richard Kimball again. I just wanted to know whether you managed to change your mind. No? Still no? The red sticker did not impress you? Well, I thought I had something there. Then all right, listen Zada, you sound to be a very intelligent woman. And maybe you think I'm not telling you the truth. Yeah, my real name is Simon Wiesenthal. And Mr. Fischer's real name is Alois Brunner. He's a Nazi war fugitive. Yeah. Nazi from the World War II? No. I know you're busy, but all I need is a confirmation that he's... Yeah. No, I cannot call you tomorrow. There are no more tomorrows. Won't you help me now, Zada? I know you don't want to get involved, but legally I just want one employee from the hotel to confirm that he's arrested. Wait, Zada, wait. A sweet old man? Listen, Zada. On this day, 61 years ago, this sweet old man marched 345 children out of an orphanage in Étienne, France, and had them shot in the heads. I have got a letter from one of them. Dear stranger, the Germans are coming for me next. I am the last. Wait, Zada, perhaps it is your problem, Zada. Perhaps it is our problem. Do you have children, Zada? Well, if you do change your mind, I'm going to be here for a few more minutes. And so it goes. Can we be honest here? When you came into this building, you were probably expecting a kindly old grandpa. People who have told you that I am a hero, Heroes are comforting, they fix the problem. In this room, I have the names of 22,000 criminals, and I catch only 1,100 of them. That's 5%. 5%. I am ashamed of this number. There are many awards here. The Congressional Medal of Honor, the French Legion of Honor, Knight of the British Empire. I am willing to give all my awards back, every single ribbon, plaque, and citation, if that woman would just call me back right now. There has been progress, but I have not fixed the problem. I have not fixed the problem. The human savage lurks beneath the thin veil of civilization. You call him Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler, Muammar Gaddafi, Mao Zedong. He will always be a part of us. All they can do is to control him. My time here is finished. My Sula will be waiting outside our front door, waiting for me to finally come home from the war. If you can find yourselves out, you can take the cookies with you and switch off the lights on the way. There is a belief in Judaism that by remembering the dead, you keep them alive. But not for themselves that they need to be remembered. It is for you. And so, here is the final question that Simon Wiesenthal has forgotten to ask. After I am gone, who will remember Albert? I trust you.
Bitte mach aus mir keinen Held. Und ich spüre mich nicht als ein Held. Ich habe keinen Tag, keine Woche, 50 Jahre vergessen, dass ich ein Überlebender bin. Und als Überlebender brauche ich keinen Dank, aber euch danke ich.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here on a Sunday afternoon. Tough play. At this point, I just don't want to waste time. I want to call on stage the most passionate, most hardworking, most indulging, most flexible, the director of the show, Denver, Anthony Nicholas.
Thank you. Just a quick thank you, few thank yous. I'd like to thank Hey Mahesh, a lady who helped us a little bit with, helped Karthik rather with a little bit of the Austrian-Hungarian accent. We tried. Karthik did a great job, by the way. I hate fucking getting old. Oh, I'm so sorry. This blade is just too heavy. I'd like to thank Rochelle Ponja for writing that letter out for us in French. Mrs. Muttulakshmi Ravichandran for the makeup. She owns and runs Pearl's Beauty Academy at Kodambakam. I'd like to thank Craig. Dakshana for all our publicity. Victor and team, thanks Victor. And my entire team from Brutus Productions, my partners Raj and Rami, and our other co-producer, Mr. Aaron Kurvilla. Sorry guys, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. And please, if you've been sitting here from the beginning, we have shows that are coming up that are not so heavy. We have a music concert that's coming up on the 25th of September. It's a tribute to 90s pop. We have a musical that's coming up in October on the 20th and 29th. And we have another musical for the first time in India, a one-man musical happening in November. Just follow us at Puchus_productions on Instagram, or you can follow me, Denver Anthony Nicholas, for more news. Thank you so very much, and Mr. Karthik Srinivasan.
Thank you.
Don't go away, Karthik.